Hey everyone, Eric here with Proactive Intuition, and in this video I'm going to be showing you guys the difference between selling your phones on eBay and selling to a private buyer. Okay guys, so a lot of people ask me this, anytime I post a PayPal invoice that's like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, people always ask me like, Eric, how do you sell a phone that's worth that much? Those aren't an individual phone that I'm selling. That is a PayPal invoice to a individual or a private buyer, whatever you want to call them. So I'm going to be kind of covering some of the advantages and disadvantages of selling to a private buyer versus selling on eBay. So if you're watching this video, I'm assuming probably a lot of you are already selling on eBay. As you guys know, I'm a full-time phone flipper, so I sell on eBay, I sell to private buyers. I do a mixture of both. So I'm just going to be covering the pros and cons of individual buyers. So my favorite thing about individual buyers, guys, is it's super streamlined. You don't have to worry about taking pictures of every single item or writing descriptions for every single item or shipping your phones to a ton of different addresses. It makes it super easy. You ship it to one location. As long as you have like a really good reputable buyer. I'll have mine linked below, and I'll also mention him at the end of this video, but he is very well established in this space, so if you're interested in getting started with a private buyer, he is a really good place to sell your phones to. Another thing I really love about private buyers is you don't have to worry about getting scammed as long as you have a reputable one. Don't sell to someone that isn't known in the phone flipping space. My private buyer, Josh from Eazy-E, he's very well known, so he's not going to scam you or anything like that. So you don't generally have to worry about any type of returns. So that's one of my favorite things about that too. You don't have to worry about people trying to pull scams on you. The next thing that I really love about it, it's kind of the same thing as the first one, but it's just a time saver. Like I said, you don't have to do any of those descriptions or any of that stuff. You literally just print out one label off of PayPal, and I usually just put it in like a medium flat rate box, depending on how many phones I'm shipping, and I'll package it real well just so nothing gets damaged. And I always put signature confirmation on any of those boxes because generally, you have a couple $1,000s worth of phones in there. Another really great positive about individual buyers is they do purchase iCloud lock devices. Now, generally, I don't like dealing with iCloud lock devices. However, from time to time, I will get stuck with them, or I will buy it because I'm already purchasing one phone and then they had another phone for sale that's iCloud locked. It's like their ex-boyfriend's or something, and they don't know the password. So I will buy those from time to time if I get them like super cheap. Just as an additional buy that I can do from that one person, but typically I try to avoid them. But as long as the phone isn't reported stolen or lost, you can still sell them to individual buyers, and Josh will buy that. He has actually a whole separate section on his price sheet if you look at it, where it shows what he pays for each iCloud lock device. So that's most of the pros. Like I said, the biggest thing is it's streamlined and it saves you time. Some of the cons that comes with selling to a private buyer is if you're looking for like top dollar on your devices, they generally won't pay as good as eBay will. So eBay, you do put that little bit of extra time in and you do ship it to several different locations. There's a little bit more risk with selling on eBay, but you do tend to get paid a little bit better just depending on the device that you're doing. Typically private buyers are paid just under what you would make on eBay after your fees, after your shipping, and all that stuff. So after all your fees and everything, they usually pay just a little bit lower than that. For me, it's worth it for any of the newer phones because it saves me a ton of time. So that's pretty much the only con. I mean, the biggest thing is you want to make sure that you're selling to someone who is reliable. There's plenty of private buyers out there that you can run into, but a lot of them I would not recommend selling to. A lot of them have like prices that seem too good to be true. Generally, those private buyers they usually have some type of catch to what they're doing, or they're just fraudulent. So I'd be very careful with who you sell to. Make sure that the person you sell to is very well known. That's my first tip. And the second tip is when it comes to grading, I recommend grading your items the same way that you would basically if you're selling it on eBay. What I would recommend is I always grade on the lower end. So if I'm not sure if I want to grade this thing as a grade A or grade B, I'm always going to grade it as a grade B, because it makes it a better relationship with who you're selling to. Generally, you don't want to have to do like any type of partial refunds or anything like that. It's the same way if you sell on eBay and the person that bought your item says, hey, this isn't as described, it had this scratch here, here, and here that wasn't in the description. The great thing with private buyers, you don't have to send them like this long description. You just send it in based off of the grading. And if you look at Josh's list, he'll have grade A is no scratches, it's 10 out of 10 mint condition. Grade B is minimal scratches, and so you can kind of see just follow the grading process whenever you do it. But it's super easy to do. There's 2 different ways you can get paid with most individual buyers. You can do a PayPal invoice, which is generally what I do. There's basically, you just have the PayPal, like the 3% fee. They'll send you the money, and then you have an address that you ship it to. You just click ship or print label or whatever it is on PayPal after you send the invoice. I might make a whole separate video about how to do the whole invoicing process, but invoices is generally what I do. You can also do a direct bank wire if you're doing larger volume and you're sending a ton of phones at once. A lot of people do prefer the bank wire option. The only difference is PayPal, you do get paid right away. The bank transfer, generally individual buyers will have to get that first in the mail. Once they inspect it, make sure everything's good, then they will directly wire that money into your bank account. So it does tie up your funds for a little bit if you're still need to cycle your capital a lot. Definitely recommend just doing the PayPal invoicing. That tends to work the best, at least for me. Another good thing with Josh is he doesn't require any minimums. You can send 1 phone, or you can send 5 phones, or 10 phones, or 20 phones. It really doesn't matter. You can basically just send him however much you want. So yeah, if you guys want to check out Josh, he is very trustworthy. He's a great person to sell your phones to. I've sold many phones to him over in the last several months. So if you're interested in selling to him, his whole pricing sheet is below. You generally, anytime you talk to a individual buyer, you want to use WhatsApp, which is just a little app you can do. It's just a good way to communicate. If you guys are interested in checking out Josh's list, I'll have it linked below, but I wanted to share that with you guys because I am getting a lot of questions about, Eric, who's your private buyer? Who do you send to? Josh is one of the best. So another great thing, I know I keep rambling on here, but another great thing about Josh is he generally will price match. So if you find a competitor that has better pricing than him and you provide that price list to Josh, Josh usually will price match a competitor. So, like I said, he's very well known in the space, so you can trust him. And with that being said, if you guys have any other questions, be sure to comment in this post below if you have any additional questions about private buyers. I also added Josh into the group, so he's there to help answer questions as well. But be sure to add him on WhatsApp if you're looking to get started selling to private buyers. So that's all I got in this video, guys. I hope you guys are crushing it in your sales, and I will talk to you later.